at this point, when SNCC is really engaged in this boycott, Schenley Industries realizes that it really has an interest in dividing the Black and Latino community. And Schenley Industries does this by making generous donations to civil rights organizations. And so there are many local NAACP chapters that kind of want to follow SNCC's lead and engage, and support Chavez's boycott. But Schenley Industries is making generous donations to the NAACP, and so NAACP leadership reaches out to Chavez, or I'm sorry, NAACP leadership reaches out to its local chapters and says, Schenley Industries is really supporting us. We ask you not to make public statements in support of the farm workers movement. Meanwhile, Jackie Robinson has relatives in Schenley, and it seems that Jackie might have been asked to reach out to Martin Luther King, and so he does indeed reach out to King and says to King that Schenley Industries is really giving some generous donations to Black-owned businesses and to civil rights organizations, and so I ask that you kind of not support the farm workers strike and not make public statements. And it is indeed the case that King doesn't make any public statements in support of Chavez, and at the time that he wrote to Chavez for the first time, many important Chavez had already made many important successes, and that was a private letter to Chavez. It wasn't a public statement at that time. So this can give us kind of a further piece of evidence about why Chavez might not have responded to the first letter, because on the one hand, it was clear that there were African American civil rights organizations that were standing up very strongly for him and the farm workers movement. And on the other hand, it would have been clear that there were other civil rights organizations that were kind of maintaining silence. And King, unfortunately, would have been one of those voices. Now, to be fair, to kind of back up a little bit, we see that Chavez himself, would have not wanted to perhaps have this alliance with King because it would have distanced the unions which provided funding. And then we now see that African American civil rights organizations might not have wanted to reach out to Chavez because they would have lost funding. And so there's a very important kind of lesson in solidarity here, and that lesson is that sometimes solidarity entails risks. It can entail financial loss, and that is very important to consider, because we can't really expect organizations to get together and movements to get together if they feel like it's going to entail a serious risk for them. And we can also see here that there will be efforts to divide multiracial alliance building. There will be, that is totally predictable, and those very efforts that are meant to divide will often present themselves as benevolent actions. So anyone who seeks to build multiracial coalitions and alliances today has got to think about those issues seriously and figure out what to do about those issues. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. I hope you all learned something, and there's certainly a lot more to say about this issue. Alright, y'all, take care.